Chapter 1. The Weight of a Long Night. A Night Among the Elite. Los Angeles pulsed with the glow of neon lights, a city of dreams and contrasts, where fortunes were made and lost in a heartbeat, and where wealth and struggle lived side by side. Tonight, Keanu Reeves found himself in a place where only the wealthy dined. Le Chateau Royale, a restaurant where a single meal cost more than some people made in a month. He wasn't here by choice. An old friend, a film director, had invited him to discuss a project. Keanu didn't care much for luxury, but he had agreed. As he stepped into the grand dining hall, chandeliers sparkled above, casting golden reflections onto the polished marble floors. A string quartet played softly in the corner, and waiters in pristine uniforms glided between tables, serving gourmet dishes. Despite the extravagance, Keanu fell out of place. And then he noticed her, a young waitress, moving swiftly between tables. She was no older than 24, her posture straight, her uniform immaculate. To the untrained eye, she was just another server. But Keanu noticed things others didn't. Her smile was rehearsed. Her hands trembled slightly when she poured wine, and every few minutes, she glanced at the clock on the wall. She was waiting for something, or fearing something. Keanu's instincts told him something was wrong. The first encounter. Keanu took his seat at a private corner table. As the waitress approached, she forced a polite smile. The kind of smile someone wears when they have no choice. "Good evening, sir. Welcome to Le Chateau Royale. Can I get you something to drink?" Keanu looked at her, his voice calm. "What's your name?" She blinked, surprised. Most guests didn't ask. "Sophia." "Nice to meet you, Sophia," Keanu said. "How long have you worked here?" She hesitated, gripping the notepad in her hand. "A little over a year." Keanu studied her face. "And how's your night going?" Her polite expression faltered for just a second. "It's fine. Just a busy night." Keanu nodded, but he knew she was hiding something. She excused herself quickly, disappearing toward the kitchen. And Keanu, he kept watching. A moment of desperation. As the evening unfolded, Keanu saw the weight Sophia carried. She checked her phone whenever she passed the back entrance. Her fingers shook when she took an order from a demanding couple, and her smile faded the moment she turned away from guests. Then, the breaking point. Sophia was carrying a tray of expensive wine glasses to a VIP table when her phone vibrated in her pocket. A single text. She glanced at the screen. And then, the tray slipped. The crash of shattering glass echoed through the restaurant. Gasps filled the room. Sophia froze, eyes wide with horror. Tears welled up, but she quickly blinked them away. The restaurant fell silent. And then the manager arrived. A tall, well-dressed man with a sharp gaze and no patience. "Sophia," he hissed, voice low but filled with anger. "Do you have any idea how much that wine cost?" Her lips parted, but no words came out. "You'll have to cover it," the manager continued. "That's coming out of your paycheck." Keanu stood up, and suddenly, every eye in the restaurant was on him, a gesture that stunned the room. Keanu walked toward Sophia, ignoring the murmurs around him. She was already kneeling, trying to pick up the broken glass with shaking hands. Keanu knelt beside her. "You don't have to do this," he said softly. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "It's my job." The manager cleared his throat, stiffening at the sight of Keanu. "Mr. Reeves, I apologize for the inconvenience." Keanu cut him off. "How much?" The manager hesitated. "Excuse me?" Keanu pulled out his wallet. "For the wine." "How much?" The manager's mouth opened and closed. The bottle was an imported vintage. $800. Keanu placed $1,000 on the table. "For the wine," he said. Then he placed another 1,000. "And for Sophia's Shiftonite." The room fell silent. Sophia stared at him, her hands trembling. "Sir, I can't." "You work hard," Keanu said simply. "That deserves to be recognized." Her lips quivered, and then she broke down. Right there, in the middle of the restaurant. A story no one knew. Keanu led Sophia to a quiet corner, handing her a napkin. "I'm sorry," she sniffled, wiping her eyes. I didn't mean to cry. You've had a long night, Keanu said gently. Sophia let out a shaky laugh, more like a long year. She hesitated, then sighed. My father is in the hospital, she admitted. Stage 4 cancer. I worked double shifts to cover the bills. I was waiting for a text from the doctor when I dropped the tray. Keanu's heart tightened. No wonder she was struggling. You shouldn't have to carry that burden alone, he said. Sophia shook her head. I don't have a choice. Keanu studied her for a moment. Then he made a decision, a life-changing offer. Keanu reached into his pocket and pulled out a card. This is my assistant's number, he said. Call her tomorrow. Sophia frowned. Why? Because I want to help, Keanu said simply. I'll cover your father's hospital bills. Sophia's breath caught. She froze. Her hands shook as she took the card. Why? She whispered. Why would you do this? Keanu smiled. Because sometimes people just need a little kindness. Sophia sobbed. Tears of relief. Tears of gratitude. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel alone. The beginning of something bigger. Sophia's life was about to change. And Keanu had no idea that this simple act of kindness would lead to something much greater. Because this story wasn't over yet. What happens next? Will Sophia accept Keanu's help? How will this one night change everything? What deeper struggles remain unseen? Stay tuned for Chapter 2, where the true journey begins. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and follow the channel for more inspiring stories. Chapter 2, A Door to the Unknown. The call that changed everything. Sophia had spent the night tossing and turning, unable to process what had happened. Keanu Reeves, had not only noticed her struggle but had offered to help. No conditions. No expectations. It felt unreal. As she stared at the business card in her hand, doubt crept in. What if this wasn't real? What if it was just something he said in the moment? But a voice in her head pushed back. What if it was real? She swallowed hard, then picked up her phone. Her fingers trembled as she dialed the number. It rang, and then a woman answered. Hello, this is Maria, Mr. Reeves' assistant. Who am I speaking with? Sophia's breath hitched. She wasn't expecting someone to actually pick up. Hi, my name is Sophia. Keanu told me to call this number. There was a slight pause. Then Maria's tone softened. Yes. He told me to expect your call. Are you available to meet today? Sophia blinked. This was real. Yes, I am. Great, Maria said. We'll send a car to pick you up. Sophia barely had time to process what was happening before the call ended. She wasn't just stepping into something unexpected. She was stepping into a completely different world. A world unlike her own. An hour later, a sleek black car pulled up in front of her tiny apartment building. Sophia hesitated before stepping inside. The driver, polite but professional, simply nodded and closed the door behind her. As the car weaved through the streets of Los Angeles, she stared out the window, her mind racing. She had spent the last year working double shifts, drowning in medical bills, fighting to survive. And now, she was on her way to meet one of the most famous men in Hollywood, because he had offered to help. Why? What kind of person does that? The car finally pulled into an underground parking lot beneath an elegant office building. The driver opened her door. Miss Sophia, this way. She stepped out, her heart pounding. She wasn't just meeting Keanu Reeves. She was about to change the course of her life. Face to face with Keanu Reeves. Maria greeted her warmly in the lobby. She was poised, professional, but kind. Mr. Reeves is expecting you, she said, leading Sophia through a long hallway. Then a door opened, and there he was. Keanu sat at a large wooden desk, dressed casually, but still carrying the effortless presence of someone who had lived 1,000 lives. He looked up, smiled. Sophia, I'm glad you called. She swallowed. I wasn't sure if I should. Keanu chuckled. I figured you might feel that way. But you did, and that's what matters. Maria handed Sophia a glass of water before excusing herself, leaving them alone. Sophia fidgeted. So, why am I here? Keanu leaned forward, resting his elbows on the desk. Because I meant what I said last night. I want to help. Sophia stared at him. But why? Keanu exhaled, his expression thoughtful. Because I know what it's like to lose someone, to feel helpless, to think that no one sees you. His words hit her harder than she expected. You don't have to do this, she whispered. I know, Keanu said, but I want to. And for the first time in a long time, she believed him, a proposal she never expected. Keanu leaned back, crossing his arms. I'll cover your father's medical bills. Every penny. No debt, no strings attached. Sophia gasped. Keanu, But he wasn't done. And, he continued, I want to offer you something else. She froze. A job. Her mind went blank. A job, she repeated. Keanu nodded. Maria needs an assistant. It's not glamorous, but it pays well, and it'll give you time to focus on school or whatever else you want to do. Sophia stared at him, unable to comprehend what was happening. I don't understand. You just met me. Keanu smiled. Sophia, sometimes the universe puts people in front of us for a reason. I believe in helping good people when I can, and I think you're someone worth helping. Her chest felt tight. This was too much. Keanu, this is insane. I don't deserve this. His smile didn't fade. That's the thing about kindness, he said. You don't have to deserve it. You just have to accept it. And that's when the tears came. The breaking point. Sophia tried to hold them back, but it was useless. The weight of the past year, the sleepless nights, the double shifts, the endless fear of losing her father, all of it crashed down on her. She covered her face with her hands, sobbing. Keanu didn't say anything. He just waited, and when she finally looked up, wiping her face, she whispered, Okay. Keanu nodded, as if he had expected that answer. Maria re-entered the room, already holding paperwork. Let's get started, she said with a warm smile. Sophia laughed through her tears. This morning, she had been a waitress drowning in debt. Now, she was about to start a new life. All because one man noticed her struggle and chose to care. A ripple effect. What Sophia didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that this wasn't just about her. Keanu's simple act of kindness would go on to change more than just one life. And soon, the world would hear her story. Because what was about to happen next would be bigger than any of them expected. What happens next? How will Sophia's new job change her life? What challenges will she face in this new world? What unexpected consequences will come from Keanu's act of kindness? Stay tuned for Chapter 3, where the story takes an even deeper turn. Chapter 3, The Price of Change, A New Beginning. Sophia never thought she would be standing in a high-rise office in downtown Los Angeles, staring at herself in the mirror, adjusting the blazer Maria had given her. A week ago, she was scrubbing tables at a restaurant, barely making ends meet. Now, she was Keanu Reeves' assistant. It still felt surreal. Her father had been moved to a top-tier hospital, receiving the care he desperately needed, all covered by Keanu. For the first time in years, she could breathe, but relief came with something else. Pressure. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She had to prove she belonged. Day one. A world she didn't understand. Maria led Sophia through the halls of Keanu's production office. This will be your workspace, Maria said, showing her a small but sleek office next to her own. Your main tasks are handling scheduling, calls, and keeping Keanu from disappearing off the grid when he forgets about meetings. Sophia raised an eyebrow. He does that? Maria laughed. All the time. He gets caught up in scripts, charity projects, riding his motorcycle across the city. He's Keanu. Sophia smiled. She liked that. Maria handed her a tablet. I'll be training you, but Keanu wanted to personally go over something with you today. Sophia's stomach tightened. She wasn't used to being noticed, let alone by someone like him. Is he hard to work for? She asked. Maria smirked. No, he's just different. You'll see. Keanu's first lesson. Sophia knocked on Keanu's office door. Come in. She stepped inside, still nervous. Keanu sat behind his desk, but he didn't look intimidating. If anything, he looked casual. A cup of coffee sat beside a half-eaten sandwich. His reading glasses were perched on his nose, and a script lay open in front of him. He looked up and smiled. "Sophia, how's your first day?" She exhaled, still trying to figure out if this is real. Keanu chuckled. "That makes two of us." She hesitated. "Why me?" Keanu leaned back. "Because I saw someone trying their hardest in a world that wasn't giving them a break. And sometimes all someone needs is a door to open." Sophia swallowed. No one had ever believed in her like this. He gestured for her to sit. "Maria will handle most of your training. But there's one thing I wanted to teach you myself." She tilted her head. "What's that?" Keanu grabbed a notepad and a pen. "How to say no." She blinked. "What?" Keanu grinned. "You're about to work in a world full of people who will demand things from you. Some are genuine. Some will take advantage. You need to know the difference." Sophia shifted in her seat. She wasn't used to saying no. "Repeat after me," Keanu said. "No, I can't do that." Sophia hesitated. Then, softly, "No, I can't do that." "Louder." She straightened. "No, I can't do that." Keanu nodded, satisfied. "Good. Now let's get to work." An unwelcome reminder of the past. The day flew by. Sophia was overwhelmed but excited. She answered emails, organized Keanu's schedule, and learned that he hated meetings but loved handwritten notes. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she had purpose. Then her phone buzzed. Her stomach dropped. Unknown number. She stared at it, frozen. Then she answered. "Hello." A voice she never wanted to hear again filled her ear. Well, look at you, Sophia. Fancy job, huh?" Her blood ran cold. She knew that voice. Brandon, her ex, the one who had left when things got hard, the one who had promised to be there for her father, then disappeared when the medical bills came in. "What do you want?" she said, her voice tighter than she intended. Brandon chuckled. "Just checking in. Word gets around, you're working for Keanu Reeves now." She clenched her jaw. "Not your business." Brandon ignored her. "Must be nice, getting saved by a celebrity. But tell me, how long do you think that'll last?" Sophia's grip tightened around her phone. "You're nothing without someone to save you, sophomore. You know that, right?" A knock at her office door made her jump. Keanu stood there. He took one look at her pale face, and his expression hardened. "Sophia?" he asked, voice calm but sharp. She opened her mouth, but the word stuck. Brandon's voice echoed in her ear. "You don't deserve this life." And then Keanu reached out and gently took the phone from her hand, a stand she never took before. Keanu didn't raise his voice. He didn't get angry. He simply said, "She doesn't need to hear from you, and you don't need to call again." Then he hung up. Sophia stared at him. He placed the phone on her desk, blocked the number. She hesitated. Brandon had controlled her emotions for years, told her who she was, told her what she deserved. But Keanu was right. She didn't need to hear from him. She picked up the phone and blocked the number. She exhaled, shaking. "You okay?" Keanu asked. Sophia looked at him, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Strength. "Yeah," she said. "I think I am. More than just a job." That night, Sophia sat in her father's hospital room, watching him sleep. She thought about where she had been just weeks ago, drowning in debt, stuck in a job that drained her, feeling invisible. Now, she was free from Brandon. Her father was getting the best care, and she had Keanu Reeves as her boss. But more than that, she had someone who believed in her. And for the first time in her life, she believed in herself, too. But the biggest challenge? It was still ahead. What happens next? Will Sophia truly find confidence in herself? What happens when the media finds out about her story? Can she handle the pressure of her new life? Chapter 4. The moment the world finds out. The calm before the storm. Sophia's life had changed almost overnight. For the first time in years, she wasn't drowning. Her father was receiving the best care possible. His condition had stabilized, and for the first time in months, He had even smiled at her. She had a steady job working for Keanu Reeves, someone who treated her with kindness, patience, and respect. Most of all, she was finally free from Brandon, the man who had spent years making her feel like she was enough. For the first time in forever, Sophia felt safe. And then the world found out. The article that changed everything. It started with a single headline. Keanu Reeves' heartwarming gesture. Hires struggling waitress after one kind act. Sophia saw it when she woke up and nearly dropped her phone. She clicked on the article, her heart pounding. The story detailed everything. How Keanu had noticed her struggling at the restaurant. How he had paid for her father's medical bills. How he had offered her a job. At first, she thought it wasn't a big deal, until she saw the views, the shares, the comments. Within hours, her name was trending, and suddenly, the whole world was watching. When kindness becomes a headline, by the time she got to work, reporters were already outside the building. Cameras flashed. People shouted her name. Sophia, how did you meet Keanu? What's he like as a boss? Is this a PR stunt? Her stomach twisted. Maria pulled her inside before she could even process what was happening. Inside the office, Keanu was already sitting at his desk, scrolling through his phone. When he looked up, he smirked. Well, I guess the secret's out. Sophia sank into a chair. I don't know what to do. Keanu set his phone down. You don't have to do anything. She stared at him. But people are saying things. Some are saying this is fake or that I don't deserve. Keanu's expression turned serious. Sophia, his voice was calm but firm. You don't owe the world an explanation. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Her breath hitched. No one had ever said that to her before. But what if people say awful things? She whispered. Keanu shrugged. They will. That's how the internet works. He leaned forward, his gaze steady. But let me ask you this. Does any of it change what's real? Sophia swallowed. No, it didn't. A past that won't stay buried. The news spread fast. Within days, she started receiving messages from strangers. Some were kind, sharing their own stories of struggle. Others, not so much. One message, in particular, made her freeze. Unknown number. Wow, you really milked this, huh? Playing the victim. Letting Keanu Reeves save you? Typical. Sophia's fingers tightened around her phone. She knew exactly who it was. Brandon. Even after everything, he was still trying to pull her down. For years, he had made her feel small, like she wasn't good enough. But now she had a choice. Instead of answering, she deleted the message. She wasn't that person anymore, owning her story. Sophia knew she couldn't hide forever. So when Maria suggested a short interview to clear things up, she agreed. A few days later, she sat in a small, private room with a single journalist. The interviewer smiled. Sophia, let's get right to it. Some people think this is just a PR stunt. What do you say to them? Sophia took a deep breath. I think people will believe what they want to believe. But the truth is simple. Keanu is just a kind person. He didn't do this for publicity. He did it because he saw someone struggling, and he chose to help. The interviewer nodded. And how has this changed your life? Sophia paused. Then she smiled. It didn't just change my life. It gave me a future. The final conversation. That evening, as she was finishing up her work, Keanu knocked on her office door. Hey, he said, leaning against the frame. Good job today. Sophia smiled. Thanks. He hesitated. Are you okay? With all of this? She thought about it. The attention was overwhelming. The comments, the noise, it was a lot. But for the first time, she wasn't afraid. She looked at Keanu and nodded. Yeah, I think I am. Keanu grinned. Good, because I have one last piece of advice for you. She raised an eyebrow. Oh. Keanu smirked. When life gives you a second chance, make it count. 1 year later. A year ago, she was a waitress drowning in debt. Now, she had a stable career. Her father was healthy again, and she had found her own strength. People still told her she didn't deserve it, but she knew the truth. Keanu didn't save her. He just gave her a chance. And she had taken it. The lesson: sometimes one act of kindness can change a life. And sometimes it's just a beginning. The end. If this story moved you, don't forget to comment, and follow the channel for more inspiring stories. Disclaimer: the stories presented on this channel are entirely fictional and crafted solely for entertainment. Any resemblance to real events, individuals, or situations is purely coincidental and unintentional. These narratives are not intended to depict, reference, or represent any actual occurrences, persons, or entities.